Squad recently launched a major update, and now that we've had time to fully experience it, we can evaluate its impact with a critical eye. In this video, we're going to break down what makes the WPMC such a beast when it comes to infantry combat, where they fall short, and we will also look at some ways Squad can do even better moving forward. My name's UrsoDoSono, and let's dive in. Let's get into why the WPMC faction in Squad is such a game changer, and it all starts with their speed and firepower. The WPMC's backbone is their ability to outmaneuver the enemy, and that's largely thanks to the CPV, or the Convoy Protection Vehicle. The CPV is all about dominating the battlefield with its speed and lethality. The CPV's minigun is an absolute game changer. It can shred through infantry and light vehicles in seconds. Its high rate of fire makes it perfect for pushing objectives or locking down lanes, and its speed means you can get in and get out without anybody ever knowing you're there. The WPMC also brings in the M1117, a beefed up MAT-V with a 50 cal and a grenade machine gun. This vehicle gives you a massive edge in firepower, especially when facing infantry and light armored vehicles. It's fast, durable, and packs a punch. If you're looking to support your infantry while maintaining speed, this vehicle is beautiful for that. And it's unlike other heavier factions that rely on slower, bulkier armor. One of the key reasons the WPMC can maintain this lightning pace is their logistical setup. While they don't have heavy armor like other factions, they more than make up with it with light logistic vehicles. These vehicles don't carry as much as the heavier logis from other factions. I mean, they still have access to the heavy logis, but they also have access to the light logis. But what these light vehicles sacrifice in capacity, they more than make up for in speed. They're perfect for quick supply runs, just enough to keep your FOB running without slowing down the overall momentum. You can resupply and keep those troops fed, which keep the enemy on their heels. And here's where the WPMC really shines. Its mobility. Most factions rely on fixed spawn points, but the WPMC has something special up their sleeve. The mobile spawn vehicle. This is a game changer in any match. When used effectively, it lets the team maintain momentum in ways no other faction can. You don't have to worry about setting up new hubs constantly. You just have to keep pushing, keep attacking, and keep overwhelming the enemy. The ability to relocate spawn points on the fly means you're always one step ahead, always being able to pressure the enemy in critical areas of the map. Combine that with the speed of your vehicles, the WPMC becomes an unstoppable force. They're fast, deadly, and always in control of the battlefield. If you use the CPV and the armored vehicle correctly, keep your logis running smoothly, and use that mobile spawn vehicle to maintain pressure, you can overwhelm any faction before they even have a chance to react. The WPMC is all about momentum, and once you have it, you can push objectives faster than any other faction can defend. Now, we could talk about where the WPMC struggles now, because no faction's perfect and the WPMC is no exception. While their strength lies in rapid deployment and overwhelming speed, they do have a weakness. If they can't get that momentum going early, they can quickly fall apart. Unlike other factions that can dig in and grind out a war of attrition, the WPMC just doesn't have the tools to slug it out in those prolonged fights. This faction is built to snowball. If they can't maintain the pace, you're going to be left struggling to keep up with other teams. If you lose your mobile spawn and you can't deploy troops into the battlefield effectively, then the WPMC really starts to falter. Along with this, without heavy armor or infantry fighting vehicles to support the WPMC, it really lacks staying power. Sure, they have the firepower to punch through initial defenses, but if the battle drags out or they face an enemy that's entrenched with tanks and heavy vehicles like the BMP and the Bradley, they can really start to feel outmatched. If you can't snowball and you can't keep that momentum going, the WPMC's speed advantage starts to fade, and you're left playing a dangerous game against factions that thrive in drawn-out attritional warfare. This brings up their CAS helicopter, which on paper seems like a huge asset, but in reality, it's more of a glass cannon. Sure, it packs a brief punch, but it's just not the game changer we expected. The CAS heli is fragile. Without proper hit and run tactics, it's going to get shot down really fast. Pilots are going to need time to figure out the safest ways to operate it, because right now, if you hover too long or get caught in open airspace, it's game over. It simply can't sustain in-field combat like some of the other faction helicopters can. Why would anyone want to pick the insurgents faction right now? It's a serious question. The WPMC feels like a direct upgrade over the insurgents in almost every single way. Better armor, better infantry, superior commander abilities. Everything the WPMC is just better than the insurgents. The insurgents, with their limited resources and weaker armor, feel outclassed. It's hard to see a scenario where you choose insurgents over the WPMC. So where did the developers go from here with the insurgents? How do they keep this faction relevant, especially when the WPMC seems to outshine them in every category? One possible answer could be bringing in something like the Gary. Anyone who played Project Reality knows what I'm talking about. The Gary, or the bomb-laden dump truck, was a powerful insurgent tool, something that could give insurgents a unique asset that no other faction has and bring some much-needed firepower back to the table. But until then, the question remains, how will the insurgents compete? The WPMC can recreate aspects of the IED drone, has better infantry, better armor, and better spawn points. So realistically, what is better about the insurgent? The introduction of the WPMC makes the insurgent faction feel like an afterthought. It raises a lot of important questions for the future of squad's balances. Will the devs bring in new mechanics or vehicles to make insurgents more competitive? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, if you're playing the WPMC right now, you've got a serious edge over the insurgents. Alright, now that we've covered the WPMC factions, let's talk about something that could really elevate the entire experience of Squad. Game modes. Territory control. This game mode takes everything Squad is about. Teamwork, strategy, communication, and pushes it to the limits. Unlike RAS or Invasion, which can feel predictable in terms of objective placement, territory control forces you to fight in unexpected places. One moment you're holding a random hillside, the next you're defending a forest that no one's ever fought in before. It's really just an underappreciated and underplayed game mode that needs some love and highlighting from the community and the developers. Territory control is not just about rushing the next flag or playing the meta strategy. Territory control demands constant communication and coordination. It's a mode where you really need to rely on your squad and your team as a whole, or you're going to get steamrolled. It makes every inch of the map feel important and every firefight a life or death struggle. That kind of experience is hard to come by in the other game modes. Territory control pushes firefights into areas of the map that you would never see in RAS or Invasion. You'll find yourself fighting on random hillsides, deep in forests, or on the outskirts of villages, places that usually get ignored in more traditional game modes. It makes each round feel unique, like you're rediscovering new parts of every map that you never see. This is Squad at its best, a game that really forces teamwork. Offworld has pushed teamwork with the adjustments to infantry, but why can't we see this with game modes? Now let's talk about something I've been hoping for. Insurgency as a fully fledged returned game mode in Squad. For those of us who played Project Reality and early portions of Squad, Insurgency was a classic. It had elements of all other game modes, territory control, destruction, capture points, but it also brought something unique to the table: unpredictability. The insurgents had to protect their randomized weapon caches while the conventional forces had to hunt them down. It created this dynamic where both sides had to be strategic, but there was always an element of randomness that kept things fresh. The question is, how would developers re-implement Insurgency into Squad? It's a tricky task, but if done right, it could breathe new life into the game. Imagine a mode where you're not just capturing objectives, but actively hunting down hidden caches, while insurgents, or IMF, use guerrilla tactics to fight back. It could blend the best aspects of all of the other game modes: defense, offense, unpredictability, and give players something totally different to sink their teeth into. Whether it's revamping old game modes or introducing new game modes are what will keep Squad fresh. Sure, new maps and factions are fun, but if the core gameplay remains the same, it gets repetitive. It's the same maps, same capture points, same games. If the developers can build on game modes like territory control and maybe even bring back Insurgency, it'll push Squad into a new level of depth and replayability that the community will love and cherish. So what do you guys think of the WPMC? Are they your new go-to faction, or are you still sticking to your classics? And how do you feel about the idea of updated game modes? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear what you think about Squad and how it can improve its gameplay. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more Squad content.